Hello, my name is Gina Hackenberg, and I'm a vocational rehabilitation counselor with Paralyzed Veterans of America. Today I want to talk to you about federal versus private sector employment and how to determine which is right for you. So today's objectives are looking at 6 different categories to understand the pros and cons of each environment. We're going to talk about the application process, location, benefits, salary, job satisfaction, and job stability. So finding leads in the application process can be pretty technical and specific for the federal side. You're going to find most of your leads through the USA Jobs website. It gives you a way to make a profile and instructs you very clearly on how to apply and develop a resume just for the federal system, just for USA Jobs. There are other government departments that will have their own sites and their own job posting boards, such as the Census Bureau. So that you may find the listings in both locations, but it is good to go to the individual departments and research those. In the federal sector, there's also special hiring authorities. So persons who are veterans, persons who have disabilities, or have participated in the VA's Chapter 31 training program may get additional points for preference in the hiring process. Now, that doesn't mean you can get this position based on disability or veterans preference if you do not meet the required qualifications. You still have to meet all the qualifications and then use those preferences. There are job fairs that are available. Certain divisions and departments will have their own. They can be online or in person, but it's good to keep on top of that. I've seen ones for intelligence agencies in different sectors that are specific to those positions. Pack your patience. Yes, the application process for the federal sector can take a very extended amount of time. There can be hiring freezes, there can be delays based on budgets, so you definitely have to pack your patience there. With the private sector, there's all sorts of ways to find leads. Of course, the company's own website, your search engines, specific career sites, the Department of Labor, and workforce development career centers that are across your community. They also have job fairs, both in person and online. You can look at different sites to be notified about the ones in your area. Resumes, you're definitely going to want a more concise resume. You know, it's not like the federal where you put everything you've ever done your entire life. You're going to want to target these a bit more and have them be more concise and in civilian language. There are also a lot of diversity, inclusion, and veteran hiring initiatives that we're seeing now in the private sector, which can definitely be to your favor. So you want to look for those specifically marketed to those populations. I definitely feel like networking is the number one most important factor in job search. And I wouldn't say it's just for private sector, but it is critical not to be at home relying just on the computer. You really need to meet people and make connections. The second category we're going to talk about is location. You really want to think about the environment where you want to live and work. Your federal positions can primarily be found on the East Coast, but of course they're going to be more concentrated around certain bases as well across the country. So there are more remote positions in the federal sector now, but they tend to require you to come in person first and then, based on your performance, allow you to work remotely. The exception perhaps may be in the computer field with all the IT positions. You want to think about if you want to live in a small town or a big city, think about the commute, your transportation options, Of course, if you have children, you got to think about school systems. If you really enjoy cultural events and arts and entertainment, and if this city or environment has a local or global presence. And of course, the last one, which we've seen a lot more of, is the virtual environment. Benefits are always a huge question. People love to target federal if they have a military history, because there is retirement credit that you could get for your military service. But other than that, across the board, you tend to have pretty comparable benefits in terms of medical, dental, and vision, the option to have your health savings accounts and flex spending accounts of that nature, also retirement plans and life insurance. You can see the comparison here. Both are also going to have your sick, vacation, and personal days. Now, granted, that's not true for a small private sector company, but for medium and large size companies, it's pretty standard. So I don't think, unless you have a long military history that you want to put towards federal retirement, there's actually not a huge difference. Compensation, always top priority for a lot of people. I have observed that federal positions tend to have higher pay rates upon entry at entry-level positions. But in the long term, you have very predictable merit increases. You have salary caps. And I have also seen higher average pay for those with a high school education. The private sector, alternately, may have lower pay upon entry level, but you have unlimited potential. Meaning, if you're working really hard and you try to move up through the ranks in management, certain companies, medium and larger private companies, can have really unlimited bonuses, raises, and growth. Of course, it depends upon the company's success and performance. If you are part of a smaller business, you're going to have a lot more risk. I do agree that federal positions are going to have a lot more stability, buying back that military time, retirement after 20 years. But there's some risk with changes in leadership, political shifts, or government shutdowns. But you do also have the protection, such as reduction in force with the federal position. Now, in the private sector, you're going to have more freedom, more flexibility. You are accountable to a board or shareholders, typically, depending on the size and type of company. But at the same time, there's a risk with changing markets, and there's also at-will employment. So you don't have as much protection if there's a need for a layoff or termination. Most states do not have to give any reason whatsoever. Job satisfaction. I'm always pleasantly surprised when I speak to people about job satisfaction. It's not always how much you're earning. So there's other areas you want to take into consideration when pursuing different avenues for work. You want to really take stock and determine, what do you value most? It could be the ability to express yourself, to be flexible and creative. You may really want to live in a more rural community. You want to have the ability to grow and advance. You may appreciate having a really good work-life balance. And you may be very focused on job security. So you have to take stock of that and see, rank those even, see which ones are the most important for you when evaluating the job environment you're going to choose. We have a lot of additional resources on our website, but also your Department of Labor, Office of Personnel Management, USA Jobs, and then the Workforce Investment Career Resource Centers that I mentioned. Certainly, this is a limited group. There's a lot more resources out there. But ultimately, you need to look at your family, your background, take stock of what's most important to you before deciding. I think the best piece of advice I could give is you don't have to exclusively focus on federal or private sector. You can explore both options at the same time, and upon getting offers, you can go down those lists of priorities and really evaluate the pros and cons of each offer. So I wish you the best in your job search. Thank you.
Since 1946, PVA has been the leading advocate for veterans with spinal cord injuries and diseases such as MS and ALS. We help all veterans with disabilities by helping with earned benefits and specialized health care, education and career resources, adaptive sports, housing and legal assistance. Learn more at pva.org.